So I think the next question I wanted to ask Giselle is first to the point that Seth brought up in terms of what would have that situation been like had you not had that starting money when you had came here. And then the second point is we can say there's the bad choices from the individuals who receive it, but do you think there's going to be equally a problem from like the people who are fixing prices? Do you think that's a problem that we're going to also have to grapple with? Is everyone now knows that we all have $1,000 a month, so are they going to do something because of that as a corporation or as an individual landlord, for example?
Well, I just spent 3 days with Scott Sentence in Colorado Springs at the annual meeting of the State Policy Network, which is a group of, there were 1,300 people there, of libertarian free market think tanks and the people who support them. And we had a booth, and people came and talked to us, and I was privileged to hear Scott, because, I'm not an expert at this whatsoever. To hear him explain, give answers to people who are very challenging and very smart. Mm-hmm. These are all, policy wonks. So they knew how to ask questions, and they knew how to probe deeper. And Scott's answer to the problem of inflation, or the possible problem of inflation, is, first of all, you get the money on a monthly basis. It's not like, the earned income tax credit that you get at the end of the year, and everybody all of a sudden has $10,000, and everybody knows that. And so in those cases, Scott makes clear, the merchants or the people in the communities where this is happening to take down their prices because they want to compete for that money. Mm. And if everybody was getting this amount of money every month, it would just even out. I mean, there would be no incentive to do that because everybody would be in the same boat. So the competition would still be alive and well. People would still be trying to get your dollars. The fact that they knew you had it wouldn't change anything. And also that money is not additional money, right? It's money that's being circulated into. It's not printed money. It's not more money that's being printed. It's money that's being diverted from other things or extracted from things that we don't count today. Like, your data is worth something. It's worth making Zuckerberg and Sergey and, all of the people in Silicon Valley very, 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 there aren't enough very's rich. But it doesn't come back to you, and every time you click, you're making them richer. So there is a way, the wealth of nations, and Adam Smith was talking about how you make nations wealthy, not the king sitting on his pile of gold, but having the money circulate. There's no better circulatory measure than UBI, because it goes directly to the person with no conditions, with no preconceived notions of what they need, and they get to spend it in their community. What better transfer, continuous, virtuous circle, which is what supposedly capitalism is, or was thought to be, but so no longer is by any stretch of the imagination, because now it's about maximizing money, right? It's about getting the shareholders richer, right? So it's not about circulating the money and giving it to people to spend on what they need or even what they want. And I think UBI answers that question.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. I think, first of all, it is the most effective policy to be able to circulate money. That's directly what it does every single month. And I think the term virtuous cycle is so important in this case, too, because I don't know anybody in debt here, but basically, once you're in debt, you're going to constantly have to pay more money in the long run because of the interest on that debt, which just adds up over time because you already didn't have the money in the first place. So it's a really big problem, and this does the exact opposite. Now that you have money to use, you can invest it more regularly, as I think both people who kind of gave me the breakdown of their budgets, if they received it monthly, they're saving for something. And so over time, you're going to have that compounding interest on that instead. And so I think that's a great part about it too. And I think also to your point of comparing like the earned income tax credit, being like once a year compared to UBI monthly and it balancing out. I think another beauty of at least the way the Freedom Dividend has been designed is that because of its opt-in, people are going to have potentially variable enrollment dates. And so it's going to be a lot harder for someone to predict when you're going to actually have your monthly $1,000 received to try and inflate you. You're going to have this money to be able to use, but there's not going to be perfect market information on when you received your money, which I just think is a great way in which it's designed.